弦に指を乗せるたびに周囲に漂う感情が私の中に流れ込んで、指先を通って空と大地に流れていくの。思い切り自分自身を感じて。
What's up guys, it's your boy BeweNNN. So it's been a while now, hasn't it? I uploaded shit since like January this year. And now how long has it been? Like 4 months. That's crazy, bro. And I gotta say, I miss y'all. Y'all miss me though? Because, you know, sadly I had a lot of exams I had to study for, yeah, and luckily it went pretty well. And speaking of dropping bangers, Arknights' 5th anniversary had just arrived, and there's just this banger event, Zwilingstürme im Herbst. Bro, I hope my German isn't failing me though. And with this event comes a long-awaited character that Global has been waiting for a little over 6 months now, and she is...
演奏で自己紹介したいところだけれど、残念ながらしばらくはあなたに向けての演奏を禁じられているの。ということでコードネームを決めましょうか。Virtuosa,
aka Arturia Giallo. Now I know what y'all thinking. Damn, this war crime committing, executor relating, hime cut having, mentally unstable cello playing wife who got me acting up, yo. Right? Don't cap, bro. I totally know what you're thinking. Why? Cause I do be thinking myself, not gonna lie. Alright, so you know, Arturia has just dropped, and to make this 5th Arknights anniversary more festive, I'm dropping my very own build of Arturia Cello. And how are we gonna do that? Well, obviously it's with this machine that's been helping me throughout my entire career, 3D printing. Basically, 3D printing is a process where you just basically create parts out of plastic in reference to a 3D model. And speaking of 3D model, I've decided to make mine using Fusion 360. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna grab a reference picture from the internet, and then I'm just basically gonna orient it a little bit, scale it down to its perfect size, and I'm just gonna go along and just draw it. So after about 3 days of 3D modeling, this is the design that I finally came up with. It's a little bit different compared to the sword builds that I usually do in the past, because this thing incorporates a couple of different components. But just to keep it simple, we got 3 parts: the neck, the main body, and the monopod. And also from those main components we also got a bunch of different more. Now why do I have to design it this complicated? Well, I'm about to tell you later. For now, let's just cut this thing into a bunch of different parts, typically around 27 meters long, so that I would be able to load them up in my Ender 3 3D printer. And also, if you feel like building the cello yourself but you don't want to go through the entire 3D printing process on your own, that's okay, bro. I got you covered. In my Patreon is the 3 model to the cello. You can just go check it out and go grab it. And so now that I finally got a bunch of parts cut out, I'm just gonna go and export them to this slicing software called Cura. What this slicing software does, it basically just generates code that your 3D printer can read in order to be making these parts. Now there's actually a bunch of stuff that you could play with. For example, the orientation, the speeds on how fast your printer is gonna go, and how much material goes into the printing. Now all these parameters might look frightening at first, but just to keep it simple, these are the ones that I'm using. I want to print it exactly the same way as I did. I'm just gonna go and scroll down slowly so you can just copy them. Okay, that's good. Got it all noted down? Okay, sweet. Now once we finally have our code done, we're basically just gonna put them into this SD card and then send it to our printer. After that, we can just get going. So ladies and gentlemen, after about like a week of 3D printing, we finally got like all the parts printed out, as you can see right here. And now she's ready for assembly. Right off the bat, there's actually something interesting I gotta tell you. This build is a little special. Not only that it's like the first musical instrument that I've built thus far, but I'm also like trying to actually make it function just like a real f***ing cello. So aside from like the 3D printed parts that I've got here, I've also bought like a few extra real life cello parts to be put on this thing. I know, Bewan has f***ing lost his mind, right? But seriously bro, it'll be f***ing insane if it f***ing works, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, for like a few extras, I've also bought here cello's tailpiece, real life cello strings, and also some ukulele tuners. But like, bro, why buy some ukulele tuners? You're gonna be putting it on a cello anyway. Like, well, the thing is because like cello pegs really just don't look too reliable by design. And you know, I just want to go for like a sturdier kind of like tuner peg. So I just went with something pretty similar to the guitar. But like since ukuleles come with 4 strings, I think I'll just like go and buy that. So I just have like just the right amount for this entire build. Aside from that, for this build, you're also gonna be needing like a couple of M5 hex screws. I'll write them down on the screen, the exact specifics, which one you need for each step. And also an 8mm shaft or pipe, either way is fine. It just has to be like a tougher material than plastic because like we're gonna be putting a lot of force on this thing. And the shaft is definitely gonna be needed to reinforce this thing, so make sure it doesn't snap in half when we, you know, tighten the strings. Now I know there's gonna be some of you who's gonna be building this thing, but like don't want to go through the dumbass shit that I'm going through right now. So I think in the link that I've prepared in the description right there, I'm also gonna be preparing like 2 types of models. One is the one that I actually have right here, the one that you have to like buy extra parts for it to work. And then there's also like the other one, which is just fully 3D printed. You won't need to buy any extra parts, but it's not gonna be functional. So either way, choice is yours, my G. Alright, so that's with the little design talk out of the way. Now let's just get into like the welding process. So I've made like dozens of videos where I actually welded my parts, right? And so the basic of welding is that you basically just like grab one of those soldering irons. I'd say a good one is like at least 50 to 60 watts minimum. And then you basically just like wait for it to get hot enough. Just basically like use it to like scorch the edges of the parts that you want to combine. And you basically just want to like swirl the material around so that they would just like mix and just like stick with each other, creating a bond with like basically its own material. Alright, so with that little explanation out of the way, let's just head straight into it. ladies and gentlemen, after a tedious 4-hour shift of welding, we finally got Arturia Cello finally pieced together, as you guys can see right here. So there it is, boys. It's finally finished. It's in one piece and looks really elegant but like badass at the same time, you know. And for a little bit of context on how big this thing is, like it's standing on the floor right now and it's about like the length of my eye, so that should mean this thing stands at about like 166 centimeter. Just for a little bit context on like the proportions of this thing, this is Arturia Cello and this is my Fender Stratocaster. And no, I'm not that good at playing guitar. I blame Bochi the Rock that I ended up buying one. This thing actually does have like a few pretty interesting features to it, and we're gonna be going through them real quick. So theoretically, this cello should be playable just like its real counterpart. It's not playable at this point because like I haven't attached the tailpiece, the strings and the bridge with it, but that's on later. For now, what I could show you guys here are the tuner pegs. In order for it to actually be functional, I had to get like banjo tuner pegs and put together with like the pegs from the design. I really like just how integrated these two features are on this 3 model. Oh, and aside from that, this thing also does come with a collapsible monopod. You could basically just like loosen this screw, pull the leg in or out, like extending or collapsing it, and then just tighten it, and it'll just basically lock in place. Alright, so I guess after that little break, we're gonna be moving to the next step, which is cleanup. But before that, we're gonna have to take this thing apart. Why? Well, it's just because, you know, this thing's basically made up of like the neck, the main chassis, and the leg. And so usually with like parts that you could disassemble, it would have made it easier. So if you actually like take it apart first and then clean them piece by piece, instead of just like sending them in one piece. Which is the reason why I haven't attached this ring in the first place. Right, so now that the cello finally disassembled already, we can then finally get into the cleanup phase, which will pretty much be divided into 3 different parts. So first up we got roughing. So the goal of this is to clean any excess weld materials and basically all these inflamed areas that were resulted to the welding process. So basically we just like want to do it really quick, really fast, which is why this is called the roughing. Aside from that, we're also going to be deburring the edges, which sometimes have like a little bit extra material on it, so that it will basically be like more round and more suitable to the touch. And so the 2 tools that I recommend for this process is the hand file and your handheld Dremel. I basically just did like 80% of it using the hand file because like this thing is extremely versatile. As long as you can just like get it moving like in a linear area, you could basically like shred a lot of materials fast. But then for the areas that are just like too small for the hand file to fit, that's when the handheld Dremel will just come in to save the day. So yeah, with that little explanation out of the way, let's just get straight into it. So guys, you can see I finally got everything sanded down right here, and this whole process took me about like a little over a 5-hour shift, because honestly like our surface clearance was kind of bad to begin with. I had to like flatten the walls quite a little bit. Aside from that, there's also like a lot of welds on this thing, which is probably like the most time consuming part. And aside from that, there were also like a lot of like areas that were pretty much reachable by the hand file, which means I had no choice but just to switch to the Dremel to even be able to access it, let alone getting it flat. But yeah, like finally the step is complete, and I think it looks okay for now. Even though like the surface finish still looks like quite the abomination, but that's exactly why we're getting to the second process of the cleanup phase, which is resin coating. Now traditionally I would have just jumped into like the finishing process. I would just redo the entire surface until it's pretty damn smooth, but like that's actually way too time consuming and the ROI is just low as fuck. But then I just like found this new trick which you could just like cover the entire damn thing in resin, and it would just make it significantly less work, albeit you have to wait 48 hours for it to heal. But trust me, this is more like the AFK strap of like cleaning up 3D prints. So basically what we're gonna do is that we're just gonna go and grab the main components, and I'm just gonna go grab my resin mix. Basically this resin mix would consist of like two parts, the resin itself and the hardener, mixed in a 2:1 ratio. And what we're gonna be doing is I'm just gonna be using this scale to get the measurements exactly right. Now this is where I think like things could be a little bit different. If you're actually doing like the same process I did, you might want to check on the box, the instructions, to label everything. It might not be 2:1, it might be 1:1, or even like something else. That's definitely something you gotta like look out for. And once we got like the 2:1 ratio done, I'm just gonna go and like mix it really well. There we finally got like the solution we needed. Now for the coating. Now how this works is that I'm gonna divide this into a 2-step process. Basically we're just gonna be doing like the top area first of these 3 parts. And then after like a few hours, we're gonna like flip it back. We're gonna like flip it and do the other side. Because like based on experience, gravity applies, and basically if you just like apply it to both sides simultaneously, like all the extra overflowing resin are gonna be concentrated into one point. Basically just like kill the point of the process altogether. So what I found is that if you just give it like 16 hours for the first layer to dry, and just like do the second one afterwards, it would actually be much better. Now once I've applied the second layer of coat, I'm just gonna be waiting for about like 36 hours and see what happens. But honestly, I would say I probably did sabotage myself by just applying a little bit too much resin, that it eventually just like make the surface finish more of a swirled up gel compared to like a dry finish, which pretty much ended up causing me to like flatten the entire damn thing from top to bottom. But honestly, would I have like done it the other way around? Not exactly. So ladies and gents, after putting myself through 5 days of balls deep finishing, we finally got the cello done. It's all cleaned up right here. I'd say like this cleanup processes, just like usual, are always pretty tiring, but like I'm not sure if you guys could actually like get the feel, because like you could only tell how smooth it is by running your fingers through it. And I gotta say, like I have never had like any other projects that are this smooth. Like seriously, 3 printed parts coated with resin, it really does ups up the surface finish by a load. This might be a little bit expensive, but it definitely is a trick worth trying out. So yeah, I think it's about time we take this baby onto the paint booth and begin with the painting. So ladies and gentlemen, we're finally at the paint booth. I know, it's literally just a cardboard box. That's all you need. It's that simple. Right, so now that the cello is already nicely finished, it's time that we can finally get into the last phase of this entire process, which is the painting. And so before formulating a plan, we're gonna have to like take a look at the reference picture real quick. Here we can see that the color palette is made up of 3 primary colors, which is probably about like 80% black, 15% white, and 5% of gold accents. And so I'd usually like to start off my painting session with the color that usually just covers the majority of the surface, which is black. And here I got my matte black. I'm just gonna like shake the can for like about a minute, and then we're just gonna like start and spray the entire surface from top to bottom on all the parts that needed to be black. Namely the neck, the main body, the monopod, and also like these tiny bits right here. Alright, so that was the first pass done. Now I just have to wait for about half an hour. Sometimes it might vary depending on your paint. I applied a minimum so I didn't have to wait long. Now once it's dry, I'm gonna bring it back to the attic for masking. Masking, simply explained, is you put paper tape on the paint parts you want to keep, then you trim the shape with a cutter, peel it off to expose the surface for the next step. Repeat this process until everything except the parts that are to be painted white are topped. Next, we're also going to be doing it on the neck. Even though we're going to do the white on the box shape right here, I'm also going to do like the gold accent as well. I'm gonna leave about 3mm wide lines on the corners of the neck. This process might be tedious, but afterwards it's gonna be easy, so hang in there. Right, now with the cello masked off, let's head back to the booth for round 2. White. I'm gonna be using matte white for this step. Sadly, the one I got isn't the quality I assumed to be. It's a little bit too thin in a sense. It kind of became transparent on the surface, so I ended up going for multiple passes. After I'm done, I'm gonna leave it for about an hour while I'm doing school. Once it's dry, I'm merged into the attic and we're gonna do the final layer of masking. Gold. So this part is significantly easier compared to the last one. We got a bit of gold on the body, so all we had to do was cover up the upper half of the cello so that I won't accidentally hit it. Use papers to save some masking tape. As for the neck, I'm only gonna be topping the white box we did earlier, and that's basically it. Now we're at the final step. I'll be using chrome gold for this one to add that nice reflection to the minor accents. Now with this you want to be really careful because chrome gold simply ain't that chill. If you accidentally touch it, it'll immediately ruin the reflection. And also don't apply too much of it because it doesn't seem to stack too well. And with that, the paint job is basically done. Now let's bring the parts back to the attic for some unmasking. Boy, I can't wait how it turns out.
Let your heart speak up. Let your heart speak up. Go ahead and let it sing. Da 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 da. Let your heart speak up. You can hide the cards you've been dealt. You can go pretending you're someone else. You can keep believing the fiction that you sell. But how long can you last?
Alright guys, so after a long ass painting session, we finally got our parts done right here. And now we're at the final step, which is to put them all together. Now I've got all the standard parts laid out here, and now we're at the last step, which is just to put them all together and see how it turns out. Dude, not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of nervous because like I do actually spend a little bit of money on buying these parts, and if it doesn't work, bro, I swear I'm gonna be f***ing sad. But yeah, here goes nothing, I guess. So now it's time to put them together for good. So we'll start off with the main bodies, put the neck and the main body together, and then flip it around on the back. Here's where we're gonna be putting on the screws. You're gonna need 6 M6 Ingus screws. Make sure to torque them tightly. So far it's looking pretty good. Now we're gonna put on the tailpiece. In general, it should come with a nylon cable that you can tighten. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do 2 loops on the shaft and then insert the other end to this hole right here. After that, tighten it using these press tighteners. It should dangle a bit, but it's fine. Now we're working on the strings and the tuner pegs. So first things first, reattach the printed peg handles on the ukulele pegs. Then attach the pegs on the rear plate like so. Now don't screw them back to the neck yet, because we still got the strings to attach. Now grab your strings and hook them up to the tailpiece. Fun fact, did you know that these strings actually do have a name? They're called C, D, G, and A. The arrangement is basically like the thickest string to the thinnest string from right to left. Now grab the end of the strings and insert them to the box through the holes like shown. Now as you can see, they're a little bit too long here, so I'm gonna have to cut them. I think giving it about a 10 centimeter clearance would be good. At this point, there's no turning back, boys. After you cut them, insert each strings to the tuner pegs. Then twist the pegs a little bit to roughly shorten the strings. Make sure the pegs can hold the string without it slipping. Here you can wanna test out different configurations and see what works. I gotta say, I spent a lot of time here because, to be honest, the design is kinda off because I didn't know how to calculate the correct angle and position for the peg to properly tension the string without it slipping. And so 3 hours have passed and now I finally have it secured. At this point, we can then bolt on the lid on the back. Screw the back lid on the neck using 6 M3 screws. Now, insert the bridge in between the strings and the main body. You don't have to glue it or anything because the string tension would keep it in place. The bridge was supposed to be printed earlier, but I had a lot of doubt, so I ended up modeling it later. And finally, screw the tightener halfway on the straight and insert the monopod and tighten it. And with that, Arturia Cello is finally complete. So guys, here it is. Arturia Cello is finally done, so you guys can see right here. So this project took me about like 2 weeks to fully complete. And what do you guys think? I think this is like one of the most unhinged build that I've ever done so far. Because first things first, I've never really built a musical instrument before, and this is like the first time I'm actually trying to like do it with IRL parts, with like cello strings and all that detail. And it's definitely quite an experience to actually just like try to figure out how it might work, you know, just like how the strings would fit in, calculate the distance for the pegs and all that shit. I think in terms of like the chassis and the paint job, it definitely did turn out great. Now, as you guys can see, like in terms of paint, it does look like pretty accurate and also clean in terms of like the colors and all that. That's basically like the part of it that I'm most happy about. However, in terms of functionality, I got bad news, guys. So here I've got like a violin bow. Let's just try and like stroke it a little bit. Yeah, sadly it does not really make any noise. Honestly, I might have to admit, maybe I am a little bit under research here. There's a couple of things that could go wrong here. It's either 1, like the string tensions are off, or 2, violin bow doesn't work on a cello string. And honestly, I decided to like go for a violin bow because I thought that's like the cheapest one I could get, because like I don't really want to spend a fortune on like a cello bow that I'm not gonna use too much, I guess, because you know I'm not exactly a musical instrument player. But hey, this thing actually still does make a sound. Check it out. I mean, it's actually pretty faint, but you guys can totally hear it, right? But yeah, I guess for the sake of this video, like, if we're gonna make this thing, like, quote-unquote, make sounds, I'm just gonna go, like, edit an audio in and call it. And speaking of which, I think it's time to take it out for a spin. So yeah, see you guys there. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Arturia Cello, this absolute unhinged piece of musical instrument right here. So what do you guys think? You guys had a lot of fun watching the video? Well, I'm happy to hear that. Now if you are, go do me a favor real quick, roll down and hit the subscribe button, and also smash that like button. That would definitely help me a lot. And I've also got an Instagram now. The link is also in the description if you feel like following me. I post quite a little bit more about my day-to-day life there. And also, if you guys feel like supporting me, I've also got the link to my Patreon in the description below. You guys can just go in and donate me as much as you like. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Say hello.